Hey everyone, so I recently saw the Childish Gambino video for This Is America. I'm going to say one positive thing about it and then a whole heap of negative things about it. First, the positive is this. It had a message that it delivered in a clever way. So that's it for the positive. Now on to the negative. As I said, it delivered its message in a clever way. Unfortunately, that message was rife with inaccuracies and a warped view of what reality in America is really like. First off, at one point, the message of the video is clearly depicting America as if it's some backwards country that is boiling over into chaotic gun violence. Sorry, but it's been pointed out numerous times that gun violence is, and has been, on the decline for quite some time. This is simply a false, old, tired narrative that gets people who have never done so much as a Google search on the issue rooting for your team, and also gets them screaming for gun control because of this nonsensical hysteria. The other ridiculous thing I noticed in this video was his smiling face and uplifting dancing in the midst of the chaos. My assumption is that this represents people being distracted from these hard-hitting issues by pop culture. This makes absolutely no sense considering that everywhere you look within the minefield of pop culture, you are constantly being bombarded with the social justice narrative. Childish Gambino seems to be engaging in a holier-than-thou act, as if he's the only one doing what he's doing. What he is doing is no different than what the throngs of other social justice-fueled celebrities are doing on a consistent basis. The other problem with this video is this. If Childish Gambino is truly concerned about the issue of violence, and if he insists on making it race-related, as the lyrics of the song suggest, why not focus on an actual alarming issue, which would be black-on-black murder? That is by far a more serious problem than police shootings or white-on-black violence combined. Which, by the way, a little side note, lethal police shootings against white people happen in large numbers as well. So stop pretending that white people get a free pass wherever they go, and stop pretending that excessive use of force is used solely against African Americans, and white people never have to deal with this issue. It's just not true. This is a bit anecdotal, I admit, but anytime I see a police car behind me in traffic, I start to get really nervous. I'm not doing anything wrong, but I get a gnawing paranoia that they will dream something stupid up to screw me over with, as they actually have done to me in the past. So again, the reality does not match up with the narrative. But anyway, if you remember a song from the 90s by Coolio, Gangsta's Paradise, that was a song that actually dealt with black-on-black violence. There was an actual serious, realistic issue behind that song, especially in LA at the time. But Childish Gambino decides to take on these way overinflated issues and tried to make them seem as if they're happening absolutely everywhere all the time. Meanwhile, in Chicago, you actually do have quite literally every day young black men being killed by other black men. But instead of addressing that, Gambino just wants to cast blame everywhere else where it does not belong. Now I'm going to help Childish Gambino out here and fill him in a bit. The actual foundation from which the real problems African Americans face is the federal government. They have a lot to do with the instability and violence within the African American community. The federal government has outright subsidized the dissolving of the black family by paying single parents larger sums of money, which has led to an unmistakable increase in the rate for dissolution of once intact families. Throw the war on drugs on top of that, and you have people from an unstable community with the most obvious and easiest road to financial gain being involvement with selling drugs on the black market, which of course a large percentage of people are thrown into a cage for, which I do not think they should be, by the way. So the reason I bring this up is because that is a real issue. I just gave Childish Gambino some factual, realistic evidence that maybe he wants to use in his next song. What I just said was an actual problem that could be solved, although it would take some time. So instead of Childish Gambino creating a clever video to address those overinflated and vastly embellished issues, he opts for spreading this social justice narrative that is pure illusion. So Childish Gambino can make all the songs he wants about how white people or the police have something to do with the struggle African Americans face, and to a certain extent some police officers are to blame for individual instances of injustice. That certainly does happen, but if you want to get to the real core, the real crux of the problem, take a look at the way in which the federal government's involvement, whether it's the war on poverty or the war on drugs, has created a toxic situation for the African American community and every other community in the US as well, for that matter. Whites are not excluded from this, of course. But my point is that the federal government completely eclipses every single supposed injustice that is referred to in this song. And you know, it's strange. As I said earlier, there were those dance segments in this video that seemed to be implying that people are being distracted from the real issues, but the unbelievable irony is that this music video and what it represents is truly the bigger distraction. These social justice warriors want you to believe that there is nothing but injustice that is being dispersed from white America, whatever that is. Yet Childish Gambino's video is the true distraction that diverts attention away from the real problem, which, as I said before, is the federal government destroying communities from within. And guess what? As long as people like Childish Gambino dream up these non-issues, the federal government will continue poisoning us all for as long as you fail to point their disastrous policies out. Pure and simple. Thanks, and that's all.